Unit 11, A2. Okay, so let's start with the first idea, would like. I'd like some spinach. That's contracted. It is in the long form. I would like some spinach. I would like, I'd like. It means I want some spinach. It's just a polite way. You use would like because it's more polite than want. I would like is a nice way of saying I want. Children, I want, I want, I want. You'd like some spinach. You would like. Okay, let's look at the different inclinations. You have you would like, you'd. He'd like some spinach. He would like some spinach. She'd like some spinach. She would like some spinach. So contracted form, she'd becomes she would. We'd like some spinach. We would like some spinach. We'd like. They'd like some spinach. They would like. So you see that the form doesn't change for any of the persons. No inclination changes the modal. This is something you will learn about modal verbs. You saw with can, I can, you can, he can, she can. There's no change in the modal. And the like form is the infinitive, always the infinitive after the modal. So, question. Would comes before the subject. Okay, this is the typical order of the verb subject in the question form. We have an auxiliary. So we have auxiliary would, subject subject you, and the verb in the infinitive form like. Would you like some spinach? I remind you, this is the quasi form, the question word, auxiliary, subject, infinitive. That's the order of the questions. Okay, this is a question of a yes-no nature, so there is no question word. We have auxiliary, would, subject, you, like, infinitive, asi. Would you like some spinach? Short answer, yes, I would, or no, I wouldn't. Would they like to eat? Yes, they would. No, they wouldn't. So the forms stay the same. Let's look at would like versus like. I would like some spinach, like I said, is I want some spinach. Instead, if I say I like spinach, it means I enjoy spinach all the time. I like spinach. Maybe I eat it every week or every month or every summer. It's something that I do regularly, habit. It's a routine. It's also a fact. I like spinach. Instead, I would like indicates that I want to do something now or in the future. Like indicates that I always, usually, or often enjoy something. So don't confuse this. I like spinach is not the same as I would like some spinach. Let's look at some nouns. Count and uncount. Noun count, uncountable. Singular, we have a fork. Plural, two forks. What happens? We add an S. So fork is countable. You can count the forks. One fork, two forks, three forks. Let's look at another example. Singular plus plural. Some water. Water, you cannot say two waters. Water is uncountable. You cannot count water. So there is no singular article. You cannot say a water, and you cannot put the S. You cannot say waters. This is a uncountable or a non-count noun. You cannot use the article a or an with an uncountable noun because a equals one. So you're counting something. I have a fork means I have one fork. People is an irregular countable noun. You don't add an S on the plural form because it is always plural. So people means more than one person. People are near. People are. Are is the plural noun, not people is. Three people are near. Now, I can use numbers, but I can't use one because it's a irregular countable noun, but I cannot count just one. There is some water. Uncountable nouns take singular verbs. They are considered singular. There is some water. There is some bread. There is some cheese. Let's look at some common non-count nouns. Advice, mail, bread, water, furniture, money, cheese, rice, help, music, coffee, salt, homework, peace, wine, soup, information, traffic, fruit, sugar, jewelry, weather, tea, meat, luck, work, milk. If you're not familiar with some of these words, look them up, use the Google Translator, write them, try to remember them. They are common non count nouns. I cannot say two monies, or I cannot say two sugars. I say some sugar, but not sugars. Using a, an, and some. Let's look at this a little closer with uncountable nouns and quantities. Okay, you can use units of measure with non-count nouns to express a specific quantity. For example, I would like some water. Some is an unspecified quantity with an uncountable noun. Some means a quantity. I would like a glass of water. Okay, you have a glass, you have a specific quantity with an uncountable noun. Water is not countable, but a glass of water is countable. So I could say 2 glasses of water, 3 glasses of water. I'd like a piece of fruit. A piece is a specific quantity with an uncountable. A piece of fruit. I'd like a cup of coffee, a glass of coffee, a cup, a piece. All of these are specific quantities with uncountable nouns. Let's look at some common expressions of measure. A bag of rice, a bunch of bananas, a jar of pickles, a bar of soap, a can of corn, a loaf of bread, a bottle of beer, a carton of milk, a piece of cheese, a bowl of cereal, a sheet of paper, a box of candy, a head of lettuce, and a tube of toothpaste. So, rice, pickles, corn, beer, cheese, paper, lettuce, toothpaste, candy, cereal, milk, bread, soup, and bananas. Well, not bananas. Bananas is countable, but the rest are uncountable. So we can quantify how many cartons of milk, but we cannot quantify milk. Now, if you are in the Moodle access, if you have access to the self-study, you can do exercises 1 and 2 and also 3. Let's look at could with polite questions, okay? You could use could to ask polite questions. It is the same form as would in the question. Could I have some spinach? Yes, I could. No, I couldn't. Okay. The short answer is really not pertinent here. It's not relevant because could I have some spinach? I'm asking. The person will maybe answer you, yes, you could, but not yes, I could. Could you pass the bread? Yes, you could, or maybe you would say, yes, I could. Yes, no, I couldn't. Okay, those are just the forms of the short answers. But you see that the order could is the same with would. We have the auxiliary, we have the subject, and then we have the verb in the infinitive form, have or pass. Let's look at questions with who. That's a subject question. Who can be the object of the verb in a question? Okay, in this case, you can use the normal quasi order. That is the anagram for question word, auxiliary, subject, and infinitive. This is very important to remember because this will give you the order of the question. Many people make mistakes by losing the order. They put the subject first, and you cannot put the subject first. You have to think about the question word and then the auxiliary. And then you can think about the subject. Then the infinitive. The verb doesn't incline, it doesn't conjugate, it is used in the infinitive form. So, who, do, you, know in Quebec. Who is the question word, do is the auxiliary, you is the subject, and I is the infinitive form of the word know. Infinitive know. So, who can also be the subject of a question. In this case, the usual question word order, quasi, is not used. When who is the subject of a question, do not use do, does, or did. Do not change the verb. The order of the subject and the verb in the question is the same as the order in the answer. Okay, let's look at this. Who did write Alice in Wonderland? Okay, here we have the normal quasi form. Question word, who, did, auxiliary, write, infinitive. Okay, who did write, question word, auxiliary. We don't have the subject here. You see, this is the problem. The subject is not Alice in Wonderland, and we don't have a subject here. So the question should be, who wrote Alice in Wonderland? We just have subject and a verb. So who is the subject? Wrote is the conjugated or inclined verb. The wrote in the past tense. Who wrote? Lewis Carroll wrote Alice in Wonderland. You see, in the answer we have the subject and the verb, just like in the question. Who did they see? Who is a normal question. Who, subject, question word. Did, auxiliary. They, subject. See, infinitive. Okay, the answer is Jim. They, the subject. Saw, the verb. They saw Jim. Jim is the answer, right? Who did they see? Jim is who. In this case, who saw Jim? This is a subject question with who. Who saw? Who is the subject? Saw is the verb, it's conjugated. So the answer is Paul and Alice. Paul and Alice saw Jim. You see, the subject, Paul and Alice, then this conjugated verb is just like the question. Who saw Jim? Paul and Alice saw Jim. Okay, you can do this exercise if you are enrolled in the self-study course. All right, this is a little bit difficult. Let's just finish with there be asking questions. Okay, with how many? We have how many. How many is like a question word. It's the first part of the sentence. How many? How is a question word, but how many is part of the question word. Then we have the subject, hours, and then we have the verb, are. So we have the subject and verb that is inverted. They are inverted. How many hours are there in a day? 12. There are 12 hours in a day. So I'm asking a question, how many? And I'm telling you that there are. So there exists 12 hours in a day. How many eggs are there in the fridge? 3. There are 3 eggs in the fridge. So you see, both of the subjects, hours and eggs, are countable. So, we have countable. How many? Instead, how much is used with uncountable nouns. No article is used before the noun. How much champagne do we need? Champagne is uncountable, so it's a little bit different. How much champagne is there? There is a lot of champagne. Okay, you can't count it. All right, we'll finish with the prepositions. Just look at some prepositions. A preposition can link to nouns, pronouns, or noun phrases in a sentence. They link the people, the objects, the time, and the locations of a sentence. Prepositions are short words that come directly in front of nouns and sometimes before gerund verbs. So we have prepositions of time, at, on, in, for, from and to, before and after. I was born on June 4th, 1989. On we use before days and dates. On June 4th. I was born in 1998. In we use before years, months, seasons, and centuries. So in September, in autumn, in the 14th century. I was born at exactly 2 a.m. At is before precise times or times of the day and festivals. At exactly 2 a.m. At uh, at 4 o'clock. Uh, times of the day, 4 o'clock a.m. And festival at Christmas. We can meet at Christmas. I study for 2 hours a day. 4 is before a duration of time. 2 hours is a duration, so 2 hours. I studied from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. We use from to introduce the first moment, to introduce the end of a period. This is used to give a duration between two times a period. I was born 2 minutes before midnight. That's before midnight. I was born after midday. Midnight is the opposite of midday. It's also called noon. Let's look at the prepositions of place, on, at, and in. The cat is on the table, on before something with a surface. So on the table, on the floor, on the map, on the book. The dogs are in the house. In is before something inside or within a confined boundary. You can think of like a box, okay? The dogs are in the house, they are inside, in. We can meet at the station. At is like a specific point. Think about putting an X on a map. We can meet at the station. You're putting that on the map. All right. Prepositions of movement. We go to and from. He went to France last year. To is linked to the verb to go. Whenever you use go, you use to. I go to the supermarket. I went to the supermarket. We go to. Whenever you're indicating the movement. We came from, she came from the station. This is also linked to the verb come, to come from. Where do you come from? I come from Spain. The preposition of, that's the bag of my friend's sister. Of links a noun belonging to or relating to another. It's like relating to things, the bag and the sister. I got married in the summer of 2000. Of indicates a reference to something. I drank 3 cups of milk. Of also indicates an amount or a number. 3 cups of milk, we saw that. A piece of fruit, so it indicates an amount. All right.